Hello, my name is Zach Martinez, and I got a chance to interview the brilliant voice actor, James Arnold Taylor. So my first question seems to be a bit of an obvious one, but do you play the video games that you voice the characters of? And if so, which is your favorite?
Well, it's not necessarily an obvious question. It's a good question because, just like I think a lot of times you hear from actors when they do a film, they say, "Oh, I don't ever watch any of my work. I don't watch myself on TV or whatever." I'm a bit of a ham. I enjoy hearing what I've done. I do enjoy it because acting is what I do. I love to act. I love to be a part of the whole thing, but I also love getting to hear what other actors have done and how it all kind of comes together. Plus, I just enjoy all of this entertainment. I think that it is all just good fun, and I truly try to pick roles that are projects that I would want to watch or be a part of. So in that, I definitely play the video games that I'm in. The Clone Wars games I've always enjoyed playing. The Ratchet and Clank series I love playing, as well as Final Fantasy. And boy, I'm looking through my window in my booth right now. I'm looking at a shelf that has many of the games that I've been in, and I really enjoy for the Spider-Man Friend or Foe. I loved being Spider-Man. It was great fun to be Spider-Man. I was Spider-Man in a couple different games, but the Shrek games being all these different characters. And yes, I do love playing them. My favorite, though, if I were to choose a favorite, boy, is that tough because it's the old joke. They're like children. You can't pick a favorite. But I really do love the Ratchet and Clank series. I think it is just such a great series. It has grown. So many things end up, as they do a sequel after sequel after sequel, it gets old. These are getting better and better and better, and I am so amazed by that and the work of TJ Fixman and all the folks over at Insomniac and the great work that they do writing these and harnessing the storylines before going and just putting them out there. It's kind of like the way Pixar works. I think they really fine-tune the storylines first. So that's a very long answer to your question.
You have been the voice of characters in over 50 video games. Are there any more or less your favorite?
Well, again, kind of, saying it is hard to choose a favorite. But I do love Ratchet. I do love playing Ratchet. I really love playing Obi-Wan as well. But I would have to say that, an overall favorite, or one that I really owe so much of my video game career to, would be the voice of Tidus in Final Fantasy X, and then the sequels that have come from that. So I think that Tidus is a character that I certainly relate to.
You have been with the developer Insomniac quite a bit, and you've been the voice of Ratchet from the Ratchet and Clank since Going Commando. How do you view Ratchet as a hero? Can you relate to him on a down-to-earth personal level?
I absolutely can relate to him on a personal level. I think that he's someone like most of us that wants to be a good guy, wants to be a hero, wants to do the right thing, but also is trying to balance that with, I also just want to kind of be myself and have some time to myself and hang out with my buddy and, relax and not have to save the world all the time, or different universes or different worlds, I should say. So I relate to him on that level. I relate to him on the fact that he's has a great kinship to his buddy Clank. And I love the relationship that David and I have been able to form in this, even though he and I have really only met a couple of times. I go back and I play the games and I watch these scenes, and they're great characters. I really love being a part of that, and I'm so blessed to be a part of it, and I'm so happy that Insomniac has asked me to be involved with all of this as long as I have been. So it is great fun to do, and I definitely relate to Ratchet, and I love putting a bit of myself into him.
There is a new game coming out soon called Heroes on the Move, which features Ratchet and Clank among other big platforming stars. Will you return to be the voice of Ratchet?
Well, drum roll, please. Yes, I think it's safe to say that I am indeed returning to voice Ratchet, in that I have already actually voiced it, and I had a blast doing it. It was great fun to do it. I think there may be some other pickup lines and such, but I don't think that it goes out of my agreement. I certainly will tell you nothing about the game, but I will say that I am voicing Ratchet, yes.
How did you prepare for the role of Tidus? Can you compare to him in any way that gives you more of a personal connection rather than it just being another job?
Well, absolutely. When I first was approached to play the role of Tidus, I was actually in the process of recording a show called Atlantis, The Lost Empire, based on the Disney film, where I was taking over from Michael J. Fox and doing the role of Milo Thatch. And I was working in a recording studio in Los Angeles where we were doing that show. And they were recording the Final Fantasy film, Spirits Within. And at that time, Jack Fletcher, the director of that, was also going to be directing Final Fantasy X. And so he and I had become, friendly, hanging out and getting to know each other. And he said, I really want you to read for this part. And so I got to read for it. And I was amazed at how much Titus and I have in common. Not in the athletic realm at all. Titus is an amazing athlete, of course, blitzball player and such, but that he has a lot of family issues and things like that I certainly could relate to. Coming from a divorced family, coming from a place where I didn't really grow up knowing my father, and could have had a lot of resentment towards him and in that, and a lot of anger and frustration in just wanting to have that acceptance from a father figure. I certainly could relate to that. And I certainly could relate to him also, again, like Ratchet, being this reluctant hero that really wants to do the right thing, really does want to save his friends and his family and the world if he can. I think we all have that desire to do and to be heard and to be seen and to be known. And Titus certainly has that, and I can definitely relate to that. I know that I portray him differently than my Japanese counterpart, but I think at the same time, he is a young teenage man that is searching for himself. And, we tried to counterbalance that with the listen to my story, the narration parts where he had a more controlled voice, an older sound. And that was, to a degree, to kind of make the audience kind of wonder, well, okay, so he's telling this story from a time later in time, but of course then if you've played the game, you know what happens to him at the end and different things, and so well, okay, this is where he went. And so I'm trying to not give anything away there, can you tell? And so I really tried to take it from those different aspects of his life and as he grows. And at first, he starts off and he's just kind of, yeah, okay, he's kind of cocky and, he's very sure of himself because he's a champion sports star, And then after his journey goes, he gets a little more controlled, a little more composed. If you play that game for, the 100+ hours you can play it, you will notice that there is a bit of a difference in the voices. And we did our best in doing that, as well as still having to deal with, there's so much when you do a game that has already been done in another language, particularly with the Japanese language, where it is a beautiful language, and it is so very different from our American ways of speaking and all that to convey information comes out so much differently than they did it. And so we were doing so much of it to picture, where I had to match the lip flaps, which would not match because the words that we were saying were so different from each other. And so they would add words or they would take words out, and then they would time compress my voice, which means in the computer they actually manipulate my voice. So if the line was, hey, let's go over there, and it needed to fit in, say, half a second, they would go, hey, let's go over there. And they would compress it. So there's sometimes in the game where these things sound different than I actually did, or they chose a take that wouldn't have been my particular take, but it was what they decided was right for the game. So in that, you live with those things, but you also know that there is a connection to the character outside of what was just in the game because you've spent so much time with them. I've spent literally years now, and it's been almost 10 years since Final Fantasy X first came out, and it is amazing that every single day I still get emails from people about that game, and I'm just so touched by being involved in it. Yes, it was a great blessing to do.